Oh. Yeah, I can hear myself, so I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that. I've turned it off. Yeah, but I can't hear myself, so all good. I've also just realised I'm in game chat.
Back to another season of racing in the FPSL. We have new drivers, new rules, a new format, but the will to win stays exactly the same as we have seen in the first 6 exquisite seasons of racing in the Formula PlayStation League. Welcome along then to round number 1 of season 7, which today brings us 162 kilometres northeast of the French border to the infamous Spa-Francorchamps. We'll reveal some of the changes for this season as the action progresses, but first, let's introduce a commentary change, shall we? FPSL got in touch with the very best commentators in the league racing business. They were busy, so we're here instead. My name is Rob Kershaw. I'm joined for the very first time tonight by league racer Matt Vernal. And Matt, as we enter a new lockdown in the UK, at least we have a brand new season of league racing to look forward to, so it's not all bad.
No, definitely not, and we get to start off at one of the best circuits on the calendar, you know, you can't complain about that.
Absolutely not. It is a 12-round season we have ahead of us, instead of the usual 10 which we've been used to for the last few seasons in the Formula PlayStation League. And, well, 12 races is quite long for a league racing championship. 10, of course, has been the norm, and it has led to 2 very, very exciting seasons indeed. And if last season is anything to go by, 1 point separated the champion Canute from the runner-up Vapor Trench. 12 rounds could definitely play a factor in the excitement this season.
Yeah, definitely, and also, you know, really prove the consistency of the drivers. There won't be really many flukes, I don't feel, this year. It's really going to prove who's the best over those 12 races.
Yeah, Vapor Trench was the most consistent last season. 10 races, scored points in every single race. Only got the 1 pole, 6 podiums, but no race victories. Had that podium so cruelly snatched from him in Singapore when he got a puncture on the last lap. That was one of the moments that you look to and realise that that's when Vapor Trench probably lost the World Championship. He's at Mercedes this season, and we have rain in qualifying. So this is one of the things that stayed the same, is 18-minute qualifying session, followed by a 50% Grand Prix. Matt, Spa is difficult enough. How about Spa in the wet?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of difficult traction zone around Spa, you know. You've got out of the first chicane after Camel Straight especially, you can lose the rear end very easily there. Of course, at the bus stop chicane, it makes it a lot more difficult. It's really going to prove who's the most brave and who can really keep the car on the limit for the entire lap.
Let us know in the comments who you think is going to win in tonight's Grand Prix. First round of Season 7. And of course, let us know who's your pick for the title. Vapor Canute and Vapor Trench now both 2-time world champions in the Formula PlayStation League. Vapor Trench hasn't won since Season 2. Won the first 2 seasons. And Vapor Canute won with Red Bull in Season 5. Won with Ferrari last season. AJ says Harrison if he doesn't bottle. I suppose it's quite difficult to not bottle it in the wet, man. It's just so treacherous, and this is what really separates the drivers, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you can also often find in the wet the drivers that aren't using traction control, because you can really maximise the power. Traction control a lot of the time will not let you get that power down until very late on. If you're using traction control and you're brave, or you're not using it, you can really make that advantage count out of corners.
Very wide goes Kasu in the AlphaTauri just on his outlap. How different is tyre warm-up in the wet compared to the dry? Is it a lot easier to warm the tyres up in the wet? Obviously with the tread of the tyres, how much more grip there is. Do you notice a difference there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's also, I wouldn't say as important. The tyres have got a much wider operating window to, you know, make account for the wet weather. So it's not as important, I don't feel, in the wet. It's more about keeping that line and really getting the traction down and keeping the braking smooth.
Kasu last season, 2 podiums in the Formula PlayStation League. One of those was at Singapore. Came back from 18th on the grid to achieve that result. And the important podiums of the season, because that finish that he got actually separated Vapor Trench from that all-important third place. And second place, and he would have then finished in front of Canute in the World Championship. So it was a vital move towards the end of that Grand Prix. It was a crazy one. I lost my voice. Hopefully that won't happen today. I've got Matt with me though, so that shouldn't happen. Casting it down towards someone, and Matt, just talk us through a lap of Spa-Francorchamps.
Well, you know, this corner, it's very important to get the run out of this corner. You've got the long run now up to Eau Rouge. I'm going to just see how brave a lot of the drivers are up into Eau Rouge. In the dry, you can lose traction. So in the wet, I'm going to see, you know, they're lifting off as Cassie, yeah, just down to 7th there. Really keeping the rear end in check. Of course, now a long run down the Kemmel Straight. No DRS because we are in the wet. Now, you've got to be brave on the brakes in here, but not run it too deep because you're going to cost yourself a lot of time out of the exit of this one. Down into 4th on the apex. Very nice there. Now, this is a tricky run down here because you can't push it too much. And into the sharp right-hander now, very early on the brakes, trailing braking it in, down into No Name. Now, obviously in the dry this is very easy, flick it through and 4th, keep your foot down. In the wet, not so much. Now again, Poo on, as Lord Alam retires from the session. Looks like he crashed in Eau Rouge actually, if you look on the map. He's lost it into Eau Rouge. Through Poo on very quickly and nicely, and now into this quick left-right section. In Spa, it's a difficult track in the wet, but if you can keep on that line and keep the traction in, it's a real test for the drivers actually as well, this one.
The apprentice is getting out of the way. As he makes his way down towards Blanchimont.
Yeah, again in the wet, you probably have to lift off through here. I can't see many drivers trying to take this one flat. Yeah, just have that slight lift off through the corner. In the dry, you can keep your foot through there. Into the last chicane now. I think a lot of drivers in this first run not going to be too brave on the brakes. They're going to try and feel the track out a little bit, see where they can get the traction down. See those early upshifts there, just to keep the traction in as he sets a 156.3. Start session.
Opens the account for this session. Shea in the Ferrari moving over racing point for season 7. The final corner upward for him. What could he do? 156.5 tenths away from the pace that Cass set.
Fastest in sector 3 though there, Rob. So
yep, it's looking pretty good so far. Pretty close. Must have made a mistake from a PDB. Very impressive driver indeed. Last season in season 6, managed 3 race wins.
Valkyo's retired as well.
Valkyo's out as well. Newbie.
That's very.
P1 155.4 from him. Really good lap for the Williams driver. The last champion in the Formula PlayStation League in the last 2 seasons. Really impressive effort there from Vapor Canute.
That's the second car we've lost through Eau Rouge now. Do you think?
Oh, and JT, always one of the favourites for pole and the win. Does very well there, Matt, to keep the car on the track.
Oh, absolutely. You're going into that corner at, you know, nearly 200 miles an hour a lot of the time. It's if you lose the end, very difficult to get that back. That's very well recovered. But do you think a lot of drivers are going to look at that now? We've already lost 2 cars into there. Maybe to take their foot off it a little bit through there?
I would think so. But then again, you are pushing for a qualifying lap. This is the one run that you get. It's not the one run, but it's, you know, you get one run to try and put it on pole. each time, and it's one lap, and it's got to be the lap of perfection. So I think that's what they're pushing for. I think every driver, despite knowing the risk, is always going to try and push those limits. See which drivers can. So far, Baker Knut has done so the best. Ooh. As Morgan goes P2, 156.3. Here comes Vapor King. They're allowed to go P5, 157.1 for the former Haas driver, now Alpha Tauri driver.
He very nearly lost that lap time at the end now. I don't know if you saw that into the final chicane. The second part of it, he cut really narrowly. I'm surprised he didn't lose that lap time.
There's Bazooka Joe in the Haas as he misses the apex of Rally On. Would have cost him a little bit of time.
Casu actually on his second flying lap, he's at 155.4, so only a tenth off Knut as well.
P2 and Harrison behind him in P3 in the Red Bull. So far looking like a pretty good debut in Division 1 for Harrison, promoted from Division 2 last season. 3 podiums, 3 wins with a pole position as well. That's down the hill comes Bazooka Joe through Rivage.
I'm interested to see what these guys are doing with their like fuel mix, like if they're knocking it up and down between lean and like max through some of these corners, because lean really does help you keep that traction there and help get you a good drive out of the corner, especially in the wet.
I was going to say, does it make a difference compared to the dry?
Yeah, I mean even in the dry, if you do say like Mount Monza, you'll notice it, because he very nearly loses it there as well.
It's very treacherous conditions through the Fania chicane. Goes Bazooka Joe in toward the 2 rights now of Stabilo, which will take him in towards the final sector, which normally, Matt, is pretty nice to drive flat out as he's
gone purple through sector 2, Bazooka Joe last, so
it's looking like a pretty good lap so far from the Haas drivers. Qualifying performances weren't necessarily the right home of the season. Out-qualified his teammate Sam twice, and was out-qualified 7 times. In the 9 races they spent together, as in towards the bus chicane comes Bazooka Joe. 14 drivers lap times so far. Vapor Trench is in P14 with 131.9, so he's clearly fluffed his line somewhere. Here comes Bazooka Joe, not so far, but it's P10, 158.2.
After Blond, he ran out of VRS for a last.
Oh, and Colin Roberts lost his front wing from Haas for the season as well. As, have to try and bring that back on pitch. The thing with crashing here, Matt, is that it's such a long way back to the as Luke Prentice has invalidated.
Absolutely. I mean, if you happen to like suffer some damage in sector 1, it's cost you so much time on this track. It's and it even tires to a degree as well. We don't know if the base is dry or not, but you know, if your tyres are going off, you can lose so much time in a lap round Spa. It makes those pit decisions all that more critical.
Harrison there with a brilliant run up through Eau Rouge. Clipped the apexes perfectly, didn't lose any time.
He's because of the up though on his personal best.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good lap so far. Good first sector from Harrison, but
look at that. That is a beautiful line through that section of corner.
Harrison so far really impressing us as Vapor Knut goes quicker, 154.3 from him, 0.5 I should say, to try and cement his place at the top, with Casu still in second place. But this from Harrison, he keeps together for the rest of the lap. Could well nudge himself onto that front row as round Pouon he comes.
You know, I'm wondering right now, if you're looking at a lot of the drivers in the 157s, 156s, is it possible the race is dry, so they've gone with a dry setup, and Knut's maybe running a bit more of a wet setup?
Possibly, and even if you look, as Morgan goes to P3 155.9 from the Haas driver, I think if you, I don't know, even if you look later on in the Grand Prix, if it's wet at the start and dry towards the end, even that could potentially make a difference. But that's what we love about the wet weather, isn't it? It throws up all sorts of variables and different strategies at play for the Grand Prix. As you say, qualifying is part of that as well. So it'll be very interesting to see who's got it right going into the race. As Harrison, it's been a good lap so far. Towards the line for him. Is it good enough for pole? It's good enough for the 55.9. Still though, Matt, a long way away from the pace that Vapor Knut has set out front. That is a brilliant lap from the Williams driver.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where he's found that pace, to be honest, to be a clear second up of everybody else. It's very impressive.
Vapor King is retired as well.
Again for Eau Rouge.
That's Eau Rouge as well, yeah. You're right, so another victim claimed by Eau Rouge. As Vapor Matt goes P13 in the Ferrari. Hit 1.0 from him. So again, you just wonder if there's any time lost at any point during lap because
Oh, that inside curve's very treacherous. That's a lap's gone.
Yeah, lost his lap as a result.
Inside curve, even in the dry, you often don't want to try and clip that on the way up there. So in the wet, it just makes it so much more treacherous up there.
Through. Launch him on then. Comes Luke Prentice. Oh, really wiggly on the back end. But keeps it together going into the bus stop chicane. He's with his brother Jack Prentice in the McLaren team for season 7. And on his debut here, can he put a lap time together? Well, he's lost the back end slightly out of the bus stop and across the line. 157.9. So, despite a little bit of scruffiness in the final sector, Matt's still good enough for top 10.
Yeah, one thing I'm wondering is how much practice do these guys do for wet weather? Obviously, this track's very different, dry to wet. So a lot of guys haven't really practiced the wet weather running.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I came into today picturing a nice, clear sky and a dry race. For some reason, the thought of wet weather didn't actually cross my mind, which I guess as a commentator I should be a lot better at my job than that. But there you go. Alright, so there's Cohen Rob back on an outlap, so he currently is the only driver who is still in the session to not set a lap time.
And possibly one to jump on board with in a minute is Kasu, who's also on an outlap, seeing if he can maybe claw some of that gap back to Canoe on pole currently.
Yeah, I just wonder if he can propel himself, Kasu, into pole position for this Grand Prix as Apprentice with that lap gone for him. He's
yeah, I believe he
around the pits.
Invalidated it through a rouge, actually, I believe.
There's TDB P5N1, 56.0 for the Racing Point driver. Move ahead of Jack Prentice in the McLaren. Jack, who just missed out on third place in the championship. And TDB actually won the Bahrain Grand Prix, which is the last round of the season, which is what secured him that third place finish. He was likely to get third place anyway, but that just cemented that. So, but still a good fourth place finish for Jack Prentice. Another consistent driver whose performance is sort of under the radar, which is why he was the under the radar driver of the season, as was voted in the Discord.
We've also got JT on a flying lap now, actually, trying to improve on that 10 currently. I think he might make quite a big mistake on his first lap.
Yeah, well, JT is easily one of the quicker drivers in the league. He joined midway through season 6 to return to the league as a former world champion as well. Came back initially with the Mercedes team, but then switched to Red Bull. Got 3 podiums, 1 win, and 3 pole positions in 7 races as he just exits the first sector and down the hill he goes.
I'm just wondering where he made the mistakes. I believe he was only 4 attempts up through sector 1, so maybe it was a mistake through P1 or something that cost him all that time.
Yeah. Making a mistake on a long track like this, I guess there's pluses and negatives to this, because you might make a mistake, but there's also plenty of time, unlike a track like Austria, for example, where it's so difficult to get the time back. At least there is time here to gain it back, particularly in the wet.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of depends how you do it, don't it? If you do it out of a rouge, you've got a long camel straight after where you're just consistently losing time as well, so there's more so on where you do it on this track than anything.
Into the final sector, then comes JT, purple in the middle sector, but really throwing that back end out.
You can see he's pushing his car right on the limit right now.
3 minutes to go in qualifying. JT to improve on P15. Still got Cohen Rob out there trying to set a lap time as JT in towards the bus stop chicane. Can he get that Alfa Romeo stopped into the first apex? Yes, he can. It's a nice smooth run. TDB's out of the session. In the
Rouge again.
Yeah. So another victim of a Rouge claim. There's into P2. 55.1. Still a long way off what Vapor Canute has set. And that's the lap from the Alfa Romeo driver.
Oh, I think we've got a bit of a glitch here.
Yeah, we get this a lot. Oh, as Kasu loses the back end slightly out of Blanchimont into the bus stop. And can he improve now on his lap? Can he move back ahead of JT? Or will JT have that second place off it towards the line?
No,
so couldn't improve Kasu. And has to settle for now for third place.
I mean, you got to think that lap from Canute must have been like a perfect lap or something, because no one's been able to even get close to it.
So, Shea P4 as he slides over the line, 155.5 from the Ferrari driver. Well, from pole position, there's been 21 race victories in Belgium. Of course, one of those was Lewis Hamilton just recently this season. As through Eau Rouge, there was just some yellow flags there as well as Vapor invalidates his lap time through Radion. And with a minute and a half to go, it looks very much here as though Vapor Canute is going to be on pole position for the Belgian Grand Prix. There's Benja in the Alfa Romeo. He's taking at the moment one of the newbies into Division 1 as well.
Well, Cohen Rob tired on his first flying lap as well.
So Ralkio, Cohen, Rob, Lord of Lamb.
It looks like he's lost,
setting lap times.
He's lost a Puon by the way it looks. It's just going slow, but
yeah, so the weather here at Spa definitely taking its toll on the field. Morgan, who is a reserve driver in the Haas, P6 for now.
Not a bad showing in your first ever qualifying session.
Yeah, he's raced before in the FPSL last season, particularly. I just trying to look at my notes. So he had 3 races, 1 win, and that win, of course, was his only podium, and 2 points finishing. So not consistent, but definitely very quick was Morgan.
3 seconds down. There must have been a mistake in there somewhere.
So unable to improve that time around. Just over 10 seconds left. So is anybody here going to be able to knock Vapor Canute off of pole position? Casu hasn't been able to do so. JT's on a lap at the moment. Vapor Canute out on track as well. He's just brought his car into the sort of checkered flag that has fallen on the session. Elian has crossed the line. So, and there's a Renault in the wall. And, who's that? Which Renault is that? We've already had one Renault out of the Grand Prix. It's James, yep. So Ralkio's out and James has now retired as well. And Vapor Trench, 2nd place in the championship last season. Part of the constructors winning team in each of the last 2 seasons, with McLaren last season and Mercedes the season before that. That crazy final race in Vietnam saw Mercedes snatch the win from Red Bull. Down in 17th here, not where you'd expect him to be, certainly not where he'd expect to be in the first race of the season. What can Vapor Trench do here? Into the bus stop chicane he comes. He's currently behind James, who has crashed out of the session. Up towards the line comes Vapor Trench. What can he do here in the Mercedes? He goes P6, which puts him inside the top 10. I don't think we'll have too many complaints about that after being P17 for much of the session. And Vapor Canute now through Puon in towards the Fania chicane. And if anyone's stopping Matt, it's going to take a hell of an effort from Casu or JT from here.
Yeah, they're both 5 tenths down, and there's obviously some time out there, but I don't know where you find that, to be honest. Their laps, they were both pretty clean.
Well, JT's just backed out of it. He's coming to the pits, so that is him out of the running. Casu, Shamani comes.
Canute went purple in sector 2 there as well, so he's improving on his lap, possibly.
I do think, how on earth has he managed that? It was a perfect lap before. What can Casu do here? Around the bus stop he comes. As though it's anything special. But here comes Casu as Morgan.
He takes pole.
Casu goes P1! Casu, at the moment, set to steal pole from Vapor Canute. What can he do? He takes it back again! What an end to the session that was! Vapor Canute lost pole position for a second from Casu, but he takes it right back again. What a finish, Matt!
Absolutely. I mean, what a finish that was. Amazing. Just a couple tenths between the guys. Both improving massively on their previous laps as well. I think that's about as quick as you're going to get around Belgium in the wet, to be honest.
That is remarkable. Vapor Canute pole by 0.2 of a second from Casu. Morgan P3 in his appearance for Haas. JT down in P4. Shea in P5. Harrison takes 6 on his debut. Vapor Trench in P7. TDB in 8th. Jack Prentice 9th. Vapor Matt rounds out the top 10, beating his promotion rival Benjamin to the top 10. Luke Prentice in P12. Vapor King in P13. A little bit surprising to see him down there. Kex Vendel in P14 for Mercedes. And then Bazooka Joe, Elian, TRT James. And then we got Ralkio, Carwin Rob and Lord Alam, who did not set laps in the session. Now, of course, because the qualifying session was wet, if the start of the race is dry, everybody will be able to just go ahead and choose whatever tyres they want to. But it is, Matt, raining at the start of the session.
That looks like lighter rain than we had in quali, possibly. It could be a intermediate start to the race. As we just have some technical issues here, because of course we do.
And well, we always do. We never have a clean run here in the FPSL.
Could this possibly be a race that dries up? Obviously, we aren't really privy to the weather information, unfortunately. We can't really say what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I just noticed TVB put in the chat that it is the first 20 minutes of the race. It's going to be raining, so right up after that. So it's going to be that really interesting transition period, isn't it? After that, Matt, to see who can change onto the right tyres at the right time.
Yeah, so, I mean, especially around Spa, you stay out here on the inters or wets one lap too long, and that's kind of your race over, really. You can lose so much time around here. But, yeah, I think maybe a lot of guys might have gone a little bit more towards a dry setup, and the second half of the race is in the dry. Really try and get positions.
On the formation, away we go. The Vapor Canoe leading drivers on what is a very long lap, of course, a short lap in the on the intermediate tyre compared to the wet compound of tyre. The first ever winning was Samuel Fan. That was in 1950, the first ever year of World Championship racing. And of course, the most recent one, Lewis Hamilton for Mercedes in 2020. As Owen Robb has himself disqualified already from the lap. Alkio and Laura. So it was an awful qualifying, and it's also been an awful start to the formation lap for those three.
I can't remember how the formation lap system works on this game, but if it works how it used to, they could have some very cold tyres by the time they get back around.
Yeah, I remember. A long lap. I think it was 2016 when the game would reset. You'd have the same temperature tyres anyway, but Codemasters fixed that, and yeah, I think now it's a case of, unfortunately, the tyres.
I mean, normally one of the few advantages you get of starting at the back is you get your tyres the warmest. Obviously, the leaders are the ones sat there waiting, but now they're going to be sat there for what is a decently long lap on Spa.
That advantage is going to be wiped away now for those guys. But Vapor Canoe has the pole position advantage. Matt, how difficult is it to make a start in the wet?
You know, I mean, it can be tricky. I often struggle with it online myself. You've really got to try and time that upshift into second and third, because first gear really tries to spin those rears up, and so Kanoofli loses it out of Blanchimont there as well. Kanoofli's running a racing pace here on the formation lap. He's not really driving slowly.
Kasu as well, putting a wheel on the ground himself on the lap to the grid. These drivers are not giving it any half measures, are they? As they come round to the grid.
Yeah, Morgan's probably the first person you see doing what is a normal formation lap of to get some heat in the tyres.
Making sure those tyres are warm.
Yeah, Kanoof going with the obviously bike, just driving quickly to keep heat in the tyres. So
AJ said that he's rooting for the new Division 2 guys. Have a great race. Benjamin, Matt, Harrison and Kex Vendel all promoted from Division 2 last season.
There's the pit stop strategy. So I guess it's not counting for the weather changing.
Yeah, the Inters can certainly go a long way. And just wonder, depending on when it rains, if we'll be able to go all the way to the first stop. Of course, when it dries up, or whether they will have to pit onto another set of Inters before that. Who really knows? No one really knows racing. You just get on with it. We're about to go there for Season 7, the first round. The Belgian Grand Prix is away, held for quite a long time. Vapor Canoe with a pretty good start, but Kasu going right with him on the run down towards turn 1 as Canoe defends the inside. P1, Kasu side by side as well with JT, and we've got a lovely view of and Kasu following Canoe on the run towards
Someone's lost it in turn 1.
Yeah, someo's lost it at the back. I think it's Owen Robb, because he's now showing down in last place. A brilliant start there from Vapor Canoe behind him, and look at JT well battling with Morgan as Morgan tries to go. JT's just got the superior straight line speed. Morgan has to look down the inside, things better on. And also behind there we've got Vapor Shea having a look as well. Vapor Trench not quite able to get ahead of the Mercedes driver just yet. Trench up to P6, Shea down to the 7th off the start. TRT James P1, I can assure you, is not P1 in the run. There we go, it sorted itself out again. The trusty Codemasters play at every single race. As out of no name corner and down towards Puon for the first time in the wet.
Look at that train as well, right through Pouon. I think there's been a couple.
All sorts happening on the opening lap of the Grand Prix. Vapor King down in P11. Well, Kex Vendel's behind all of this drama that's been happening. Joe is losing positions and he's battling now with. Well, he's battling with Lord of Lamb.
Oh, runs deep as well.
Yeah. Cohen Rob just behind him. Little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. Cohen Rob though managing to just about survive as he sticks behind for the time being. And Lord of Lamb as well going side by side with Ralkio. Oh, really good battle between those two as Lord of Lamb gets round the outside and gets ahead of the runner. Oh, very wide goes Ralkio. Where's... Oh, in fact, no, I think that was a glitch. It was a glitch.
Oh.
And down...
Oh, hang on, what's
goes
happened?
I think Ralkio's letting him go because there was an illegal overtake as now Bazooka Joe gets involved and he tries to go round the outside. It's all very interesting here on the first couple of laps of the Grand Prix.
We've had some very interesting timing screen issues. Now look, he's going to down in 7th.
Is he down in 7th?
I don't believe he is. I think he's still clear at the front.
Yeah, no, he definitely is. So, yeah, the timing screen's once again playing up. So Vapor Canoe still out in the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix to start season 7.
I think there's been some overtakes there into the chicane at the end of the Camel Straight.
And there's Kasu in P2 behind JT. Just behind him, Morgan's defending very hard from Vapor Trench. And Trench got ahead. No, he hasn't, not just yet. The timing screens are still showing all sorts. But Vapor still in P5 behind Morgan. Shea just behind him, fending off TDB in the racing point. And then Vapor Matt in P8, who is just ahead of Harrison. So that's 2 Division 2 promotions from last season making their way up the field in P8 and P9. Benjamin, a great start for Alfa Romeo. He's in P2, so he's just one place. So well for him, Vapor King in P11. Jack Practice rounding up the top 10 moment for McLaren with his teammate in P13.
Trent just very small. The issue is in the wet, it kind of takes away a few overtaking pieces around Spa.
Yeah, he's got a great run though here. Down towards the bus chicane. We've also got JT very close to Kasu. He tries to go around the outside. And look here as well, Kasu and JT side by side.
Oh,
bit of contact on the exit. There's a little bit of a back end loss for Kasu, but JT round the outside and look at Vapor Trench as well, getting past Morgan, and he has got him on the run down towards the north. The two overtakes being done in unison. Vapor Trench of Morgan and JT getting in second place ahead of Kasu.
Kasu might have a run back here at the Camel Straight though. He's within 5 tenths. He's going to get that slipstream.
Going on behind as well with Matt just behind his Vapor Shea, but looking well at Harrison in the red, but he's got a good run here on Vapor Matt. Matt trying to break the 16. Harrison closing in and trying to get past. And can he go down the inside? No, he can't. But ahead of them, Vapor Shea is very close with Morgan, and he's also very close behind with TDB all over the back of him. Can TDB cut back underneath and have a little go into Rivage? He'll think about it, and he will go for it. And Vapor Shea has to see him and leave in space, and he does so. He's going to try and hang around the outside, but he can't. TDB gets ahead. Very good move there from the racing point driver into P6, and now Vapor Shea is reeling from that. And he's got Vapor Matt and Harrison right behind him, although I think Matt's more just thinking about defending than Harrison is about attacking his teammate Vapor Shea, and off has gone Benjamin, I believe. Yeah, he's in the wall.
And he's lost front wing as well.
Oh, his debut in Division 1 couldn't have got off to a worse start. As past him goes TRT James, who has had a really bad start as well.
He's going to have to pit as well. That's going to cost him a lot of time. That's only just in the start of Sector 2.
Yeah, James last season with a win, a pole, and well, of course, that one podium came with a victory. That was in Singapore, actually as a reserve driver. He then got a full-time seat as a result of that. But yeah, what a frustrating start for him and for Benjamin. His teammate Ralkio in P15 was also not a good start to this Grand Prix for the Renault team.
Just kind of doing a classic Lewis Hamilton, really, isn't he? He's already 2 seconds ahead after 4 laps.
Well, JT, fastest lap, 155.1, so he's trying to turn up the heat at the moment.
There we are. I mean, there's a very big train here. from about P6 to P11 or P12 or so. It's
Speaking of which, Harrison has just managed to get past Matt. That move coming. Jack Prentice as well is also looking pretty interested. This is Vapor King just behind him, so Jack Prentice can catch and pass Vapor Matt. With a good start in the points at the moment in the Ferrari. Still plenty of time to go in this Belgian Grand Prix. Shea. But he's not given up, has he, on that position. He still wants to try and get back past TB.
I think he got a pretty decent run into the chicane there, but he just, in the wet, that's a very difficult place to overtake. It's very easy to lose the rear out of there. So, oh, James has a 3-second penalty.
So, do his recovery any favours. Benjamin in the Alfa has made it back round to the pits, and he's got a new front wing on the car.
It's how much time he's lost, though. He's
look at that.
30 seconds away from the next car.
He's so fighting very hard to keep the car on the track on the exit of the pit. TDB now has his sights set on in front of him.
I'm interested to see who's made up the most positions here at the start. We've kind of had a fair few position changes, but I don't think anyone's really made massive gains so far.
Doesn't really look like it. Vapor Canute still out in P1. JT has got up to second place. Ralkio gets another penalty. Gets a penalty for Renault, so that's both Renault's now. Not a good start at all for the Renault team. The Alfa, well, we've got one Alfa Romeo in P20, one Alfa Romeo in P2, looking to try and take P1 in the near future. And was a little bit wide goes Harrison by the looks of it. And is that going to cost him? I think it will, because Vapor Matt's right behind him. He's not quite close enough. Harrison's recovered well from that mistake that he made going to the bus stop. So, as Matt loses the back end Jack isn't enough to take advantage. Carl Robb down the Grand Prix. So Carl Robb has retired in the Red Bull. It was an awful qualifying, and it has turned out to be an even worse Grand Prix. As James got front wing damage. He's going to come.
I was wondering why that's why he's losing so much time. I thought he was dropping off at quite a rate. He's
So it looks like Carl Robb's just retired in the pits.
That must be at least orange damage on the front wing as well, because he's lost pretty much half of it.
Huge chunk missing, isn't there, on that front wing? So you do wonder how he's still going and why he hasn't pitted yet. But potentially just knowing that he would lose even more time, he's going to have to hope for a safety car and Benjamin, because he's a further 40 seconds back from James. Excuse me.
Vapor Matt picking up a penalty. On this track, it's very easy to do. There's a lot of corners where you just want to give it that extra 5-10% through the corner, and you just run it a little bit wide.
I suppose, is it easier in the wet as well to make that mistake?
Yeah, I mean, because you can lose the back end, and even though you haven't gained any time, the game will still punish you for it. So
Vapor King looking to get himself into the points here for the Haas team. Excuse me, for the Alfa Tauri team. Was in Haas last season. 7 races with 3 points finishes. I think by all accounts it was a bit of a frustrating season. A weird podium. Scored points in 5 races as well. So really a little bit of a frustrating one last year, and I think quite a frustrating start to this one. Vapor Canute has cemented that advantage out front. 55.1, the fastest lap of this Grand Prix. Into the pits comes TDB. So is this Matt the dry?
I was going to say, it looks like it stopped raining, and a lot of the track looks like it's dried up. I was just about to ask you if you thought it was still raining. This is a very bold call going on to slicks.
So medium tyre going on to the racing point. There'll be a few keen eyes on that one to see if he ends up out. Oh, in fact, there's a lot of drivers in the pits. So but also pitted.
Luke Prentice needed a new front wing as well.
Bazooka Joe into the pits for him, as he got a front wing.
He's trying to go to the end.
He is, yeah. It's difficult. I know it's the hard tyres, but even from here, that's difficult, isn't it?
That is a long stint. 16 laps on hard. That is a long stint on those.
Ralkio here right behind Elian.
So everyone's going to be waiting to see if that pops up now, if TDB or Luke Prentice saying fastest lap, because if it does, they're going to be jumping straight in the pits. But so far, he's not really gaining on Ralkio in front.
I think one of the key factors is obviously when DRS gets enabled. That's always one of the telling signs that Codemasters give you.
That track looks pretty dry to me. I don't know
does.
about you. I can't see much spray off the tyres
No,
anymore.
I can't. It does look pretty dry. It does dry pretty quickly on the F1 games, and I think that's what's happening here. There's the odd little puddle here and there, but you can go onto the slicks and avoid that, I would imagine.
And TDP really not gaining on that in front. In fact, he's losing time.
He's losing time now, isn't he? To Ralkio in front. So, well, DRS is now enabled.
DRS is enabled, so I think you might see a lot of guys pitting. Is
Yeah.
Knuth going to pit? He's just going past it now.
Jack Prenton's got past Matt in the way ahead as well, so Matt, I think, has made a mistake somewhere, and he has. He's lost his front wing, so, oh, that's so
All the
frustrating.
leaders are coming into the pit.
Yeah. Oh, he rejoins, has to make sure he doesn't hit Vapor King. Does well to avoid the contact as Luke Prentice retires from the Grand Prix. So that's another one gone in this race.
Everyone's coming into the pits as well. There might be some double stacking here, actually. There's a few teammates that are decently close on track.
Oh, and there's Luke in the wall in the McLaren. So, yeah, everybody coming. And safety car deployed. Safety car is deployed. So that gives basically the leaders a free pit stop. That's a message pops up on the screen, which means I can't see the time on the screens. There we go.
Oh, Malcolm's been disqualified from the session for blocking the pits.
Oh dear.
I think he may have spun into the pit
I think
lane.
he did, yeah, because it's obviously such a tight pit lane here that yeah, I think he's done that and ended up doing himself a disservice. So what a shame that is for him. But what this does do, Matt, is it allows for James and Benjamin to come into the pits and close back up to the field.
The interesting thing is James hasn't pitted still. I think he carried on for an extra lap. After everybody else pitted, as did Kex Vendel, actually.
Still making his way around, yeah. Kex Vendel in P12, and he's still going. Yeah.
That's an
still on the
interesting
one. I can't, I mean...
That's surely just got to be like a mental lapse or something, hasn't it? Like he's just forgotten?
Maybe. All the signs have come up. Everybody else is pitting for slicks. The message has come up from race control that DRS has been enabled. Can't really see why he hasn't come into the pit, but James with a change of front wing as well as a set of medium tyres on the car.
Because, yeah, Kex Vendel wouldn't have been close enough to Vapor Trench to really, even the double stack would have been an issue, so... I don't know what's happened there.
That's interesting. But James has now pitted, and he should still be joined ahead of Benjamin because, of course, everybody's a bit slower due to the safety car.
The interesting thing is, everyone's gone into mediums. I think that means they're going to have to stop again. They're not going to go all the way to the end, but...
Yeah.
I don't know if the hards will.
Well, Bazooka still on the hards. Yeah.
Because the thing is that you go onto the hards, if you've still got to pit again, you're just costing yourself time every lap, because you're just not going to be as quick, are you? So...
Yeah. And
track position around Spa, I don't think it's the most important thing in the world, especially in the drive. There's a lot of overtaking opportunities around here, so...
Yeah, I think the medium runners will definitely be able to pit again and still end up with a fair bit of pace in hand over Bazooka Joe, particularly the leading pack.
And also Vapor Shea's gone onto the hards as well, further up the grid.
Yeah, he has indeed, yeah. So I think Vapor Shea is one of the drivers who certainly has the pace to make it work. Not that Bazooka Joe doesn't have good pace. He's good at turning a bad qualifying result, or a slightly worse qualifying result, into a good race result, because he outraced his teammate Sam 6 times last season and outraced 3 times. And the season before that as well, when he was partnered with Reese.
And so now Knuth is joining up behind the safety car, so we should see the field start to bunch up.
And when Bazooka Joe was partnered with Reese, he was actually out-qualified. They had 8 races together, and he was out-qualified every single time. But he outraced him 6 times.
So definitely better on Sundays and Saturdays then in that case.
Certainly is. And that's, of course, where the points are handed out. Vapor Matt is showing us just having... Oh, that's why, because Kex is in the pit. So he has now pitted. He's seen sense, Matt. And he's decided that he needs to go on to a set of intermediate tyres.
So, yeah, it's... Well, he's still coming out just behind Bazooka Joe because TLT James and Benja are so far behind. I don't know if they're going to catch up. They're just going into the final corner now.
I hope for their sake that they do, but you're right. They are way behind the safety car train at the moment. So, well, they need to start pedaling a little quicker if they want to catch up.
I mean, that's also going to be wearing their tyres, because they're doing race laps to try and catch up. So
it's going to almost certainly enforce a pit stop for them. JT lurking behind Canute. Canute, of course, will be livid with this safety car period, because he was building. It's a good lead out front.
Yeah, he was just holding that lead very nicely. It was about 2 seconds every time JT went a bit quicker, he went a bit quicker. You know, it's just nicely.
So, behind him, though, and do it all again here. He's shown already he has the pace to do it. but this is where your theory about setup comes to play. What if Canute had a wet setup? What if now he just loses so much time and just priced it?
It's possible. I don't think I can stop this quickly. People before the race were saying 20 minutes of rain. That gets you to about lap 10 or 12.
Yeah.
So I think maybe people expected to stop on lap 6 or 7.
Certainly has thrown strategy ideas into the wind in Spa.
Safety car doesn't seem to be coming in this lap though, because normally it would pop up about now. So
yeah, a bit of a saving grace.
I was going to say, they're going to be breathing a sigh of relief at the back there.
Well, even so, that James isn't really gaining, is he? They still need to get a move on those two. Benjamin's up for the 6.5 seconds back. So it's not as if.
I think we might have one more under safety car. I think it looks like it's all been cleared. So you'd think more.
Not as if they've got much time to catch back up. So they manage it.
Yeah, we're only just going into sector 3 now. So.
Oh, we'd love to see all 17 of the current runners take the safety car restart, but that might not happen.
So where do you think Canute's going to launch then for the safety car restart? How far do you think he's going to leave it? Because obviously you only get until the timing line, so...
Yeah, well it's the left of Blanchimont, you can go on the X with the bus stop chicane. Of course, one thing to remember from last season actually is that they've reverted to the old rules of not overtaking until the start finish line, so we can go any point up until after the bus stop chicane.
Do you think he's going to try and wait out, or do you think he's just going to try and get on the foot maybe as soon as he can?
I'm just a commentator. I think. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think he might just try and build that gap up. I saw it in the formation lap. He was just trying to stretch it a bit, so he might just try and go. James is looking like he's going to catch up. He's nearly at the back of the train now.
Yeah, he's getting there, isn't he? Hopefully, Ben will follow suit and get there as well. 13 wins from second on the grid. Kasu took second in qualifying. He's currently third place, and there have been 19 wins from outside the front row in the history of the Belgian Grand Prix. So,
well, Spa is conducive to good racing.
Yeah,
it's a very nice track to drive.
Absolutely, especially with DRS as well being activated in the.
That Camel Straight is going to suddenly become a much bigger overtaking spot, I feel.
Absolutely. And you'll see some cars soaring past other drivers as Canute frantically tries to get heat into those medium tyres.
And the thing to remember is, everyone should now have full ERS and quite a bit of spare fuel if they've been running in lean, so it's going to be interesting to see how people deploy that over the next 12 laps or so when the safety car goes in.
Yeah, this will be a fascinating restart for sure, of course.
Safety car is in this lap.
Nobody really knows how much temperature they're going to have in the brake from the tyres as they head into the bus stop and of course into the first corner of La Source. So hopefully we won't see any incidents, because we like to go incident free between now and the end of the Grand Prix, but nobody's...
Look at Canute really slowing the pace down as well.
How nervous do you get before a safety car restart?
You know, I find it a lot easier than a race restart, like a just normal race start, to be honest. It's you know, you're just kind of waiting on the car in front to go, and then you can go as well. It's not too bad, actually. As he takes off just before Blanchimont.
Right, so JT's kind of gone with him. So it's a pretty good restart from both of the top two.
Yeah, Cassie's been the one who's been caught out cold there.
Yeah, Cassie has Trench right behind him in the Mercedes. Here is Trent. No, he's close enough for him even to turn one. He's not quite got the exit out of La Source, but pretty good recovery. This from Baby was P17 for most of qualifying, got himself up to P7, and now in fourth place, looking at a podium finish. Vapor Canute, a very good restart. Behind them, Vapor Shea is just here. Harrison has some really good pace so far. If he can get run up the Source through Radio, if he can get himself ahead of the Ferrari. No DRS. Oh, he gets a penalty for going off the track, but he's got a great extreme here. Here comes Harrison, closing in on the Ferrari. Has he got the overspeed? Is he close enough? No, he's not. Has to stay behind.
Morgan somehow got 2 seconds off Vapor Trent straight away. I don't know what's happened there for Morgan off the safety car restart.
Vapor King has just gotten ahead of Jack Prent. Oh! The wall, they both go! Oh, TDB and Jack Prentice going side by side on the restart, and both of them flying into the barrier. Excuse me, it was TDB and Vapor King, I should say.
I think the stewards might have a look at that one. I don't know what happened there.
Oof, what a shame that is. I was just saying, I was hoping they were going to go into the free.
That's a VSC.
VSC, yep. So, TDB.
Oh, something to look out for here. Vapor Canoe's got a time penalty now as well.
Penalty himself. We didn't notice that in amongst all that. I was so busy looking at the fact that it was a racing point. I thought it was Jack Prentice. It was TDB who really was a surprise. Well, not a surprise package, but he was the cat amongst the pigeons last season in the championship fight. So sad of him. TDB has just actually got in the chat. He gave me absolutely no room, says TDB. Well, fly to the wall as Vapor King was on the inside. So,
Harris through as well, speeding under the safety cars they go green.
That's one of the sillier penalties, Matt, that you can get, isn't it?
Yeah,
speeding under the VSC.
Quite difficult though, because you're trying to time the launch to not lose too much time.
That's true.
But if you're even slightly red as that flag goes green, you're in trouble.
Despite the VSC, he still managed to win the Grand Prix. It just shows the difference in pace from the wet into the dry as he exits Radion.
When do you think Harrison's going to serve that drive-through as well? Because it's going to cost him a lot of time under racing conditions.
Well, it's tough, isn't it? Because if you wait too long, you run the risk of there being a safety car.
And Vapor Shea looks like he's rotating down.
Vapor Shea on Harrison. They get ahead. The Red Bull does so. Really good move in towards Lecom. Jack Prentice looking like an interesting party as well. In the McLaren to potentially take P7. And if he wants to take P6 off Shea, he has to make sure he gets past the Red Bull as quick as possible. Harrison, though, you feel isn't going to give up on this position just yet. Seeing drivers lose positions and catch right back up so far in this Grand Prix. That walk in the intermediate conditions, of course. That JT is still within a second for now, and when DRS gets enabled, he will want to be there, of course.
Obviously, I think he's going to have a 3-second penalty as well. He's going to really try and stretch that gap out now. So if JT can just sit inside the range, that's going to really help him.
We've scored several, well, not several, but a few races last season decided by penalties, particularly when there's been a late safety car. And you just wonder if that's going to happen here in Belgium, the first round of season 7. It's been an entertaining race so far. It was raining for the first part. It's now dry, and we are halfway through. As Vapor Canoe sets across in that 144.2, I should say. Into the pits comes Harrison. Yeah, his drive.
And DRS is now enabled as well.
He's decided to make it rather than later.
That's going to drop him right down though. He's only just going in front of Vapor King, I think.
I think he might be off the
Vapor King.
I think he might have front wing damage on that car.
He's on fast tyres, so he must have just pitted.
Yeah, he did pit actually, you're right. So, yeah, so he's far enough behind that Harrison's been able to come back out. Still ahead of him. And Kex Vendel's just got ahead of Elliott.
3 tenths behind Canute as well at the front, so he's really closing up.
Very close indeed. So despite Canute's fastest laps in the past couple, JT's had a brilliant first sector. Well, Lamb gets a penalty.
Do you think it's possible that Canute was running kind of maybe a more wet weather-based setup?
I think so, because JT's got so much pace now, hasn't he, in that Alfa Romeo? And Canute, he almost seems to have lost a bit of confidence, doesn't he? I mean, I know he's been setting the fastest laps, but he's been out front. And it just seems here, as though got a penalty, of course, which would have made him a little bit more nervous. But, yeah, JT, we'll see if he can close up enough here to Vapor Canute. Of course, just staying ahead now is not enough, is it, for Canute? He has to build a gap unless, of course, JT himself picks up a penalty, which would be music to the ears of Vapor Canute. But Castillo as well, 3 seconds behind, so he'll be lurking.
JT as well, not much ERS. I think he may have burnt some earlier, kind of closing that gap up. So, of course, he now gets DRS. James now gets another time penalty, I think, because that's his second one.
Yeah, second one. So JT here will try and lift himself up.
It as well in sector 3. I think that might be TRT James, actually.
Yeah, James is out. James out the session. So, yeah, that's him out of the Grand Prix. And I just wonder where that's happened.
It looks like it's...
Harrison was pretty close to him, I think. But, yeah, so that's JT out. So, what an awful day this has been for Renault so far in this Grand Prix. Ralfield disqualified James out of the Grand Prix. Not a good start to season 7 for them.
Look at the time he's made up on the DRS there as well, JT. 3 tenths on the Camel Straight there.
Yep. Of course, he'll know now, won't he, that he doesn't actually need to pass him.
No, he can just sit behind the race. You know, it's not really an issue for him.
And side by side, Lord Lamb getting ahead into P7. Not a disastrous season. He just about survived relegation into Division 2. He was alongside the season. It was nearly a clean sweep of qualifying results. Trent qualifying 9-1, outracing 10-0. A great season for Lord Lamb, but it was enough to, I don't know, help him survive. In Division 1 for Season 7. And they were good, really good out there from him in some other drivers in a couple of incidents. But happens all the time in league racing. That's what we love about it. There's always incidents to talk about. And up into P7 has gone Lord Lamb. Matt still in P9. Just behind Jack Prentice, actually, with the Keck Spendle just having got up into the points, getting Elian, who was another one who escaped relegation in the Ferrari last season. It's Vapor Matt and Vapor Che in the Ferrari cars for the Season 7 campaign. So Matt is up with Jack Prentice. Of course, the issue you have with DRS, Matt, is that the fun at DRS as well, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, you don't really gain much. JT's got a much better run through Rouge there. He might have luck here down into oh, he's out of ERS though.
JT, no, he's not close enough. Is he deploying ERS at the wrong moments, do you think?
It's possible. I mean, that Camel Straight, if he can run rich fuel and overtake through that, I mean, you've got such a good overspeed on them.
Still then waiting for that move to happen. If it is going to happen, of course, as we say, JT just has to stay within 3 seconds and not pick up a penalty himself in order to win this Belgian Grand Prix, and Vapor Canute is going to have to try and somehow lead the race. JT to a mistake, which is going to be, it's going to take some doing, has to be said, as Jack Prentice comes under a little bit of fire now from Vapor Matt.
Do you think it's possible that I don't think he will, but maybe Canute will try and back him up into Casu? Maybe if the gap was smaller.
Could do a Lewis Hamilton, but then the thing is, if he does that, Casu has more chance of finishing him as well. And of course, Vapor Trench is not far behind Casu, so Vapor, I think if he did that, would end up right off the podium, which he can't afford.
Got to get his head down and push as hard as he wants now.
Vapor Trench 6 podiums last season, looking to get his first podium as Steve Vendel gets a penalty. That helps Elian's cause in terms of scoring points.
That might be Vendel's second penalty of the race as well. I seem to recall him getting one earlier too.
Yeah, well, if it's the case, then he'll do well to score points in this Belgian Grand Prix. As Trench, that gap is still the same, isn't it? Just over a second.
Yeah, just keeping him up at DRS. JT's getting closer and closer every lap. At some point,
just under half a second, but is he? Oh, he's got a good run here, isn't he? He's in the slipstream. Is he close enough now? No. Virtual safety car. What's happened then?
Someone has crashed in front of him.
He's losing positions in the Ferrari. Has he lost his front wing there? Yes, he has.
Lost his front wing completely as well.
He come off, so yeah, he'll have to stick with that. That is such a long way back from there as well. It's not gonna be an easy one to recover for the Ferrari driver.
Do you think it's possible he's tried to overtake someone into turn 1 and they've just braked earlier than he anticipated or something?
Yeah, possibly.
The SC ends as well very quickly, so...
Elian is now furious. Elian, he's right behind him and he had to wait for Shay to get out of the way of him. But that does promote Elian now up into the points, and Vapor Shay now to 4 points. Of course, out between now and the end.
And he's running wide as well, so he's running a risk of picking up penalties too, which is never a good thing.
Yeah.
Benja, recovery drive at the minute as well. He's actually overtaken a couple cars.
Yeah, up to P13 for him.
Shay.
And Shay nearly getting involved with this battle. Does well to just run wide and avoid getting in anyone's way, as he just about allows Harrison to get past him as well. The boat, Harrison recovering himself right through penalty, which was a shame for him. He was making some really good inroad leaders before that. But speeding under VSC cost him that. Yeah, so there we go. So you called it. He said he was going to pick up a penalty for running wide, and he has done just that. Right, JT on the exit of last source. Is he finally going to have the run on? Very close, isn't it? Last source, can he keep it together?
As well.
And he just stayed within distance through Rouge and up through Radion. Yes, he can. That's a great run. Here we go. Here comes JT with DRS, and Canute's gone defensive. No, he hasn't.
Is he trying to stay behind Canute here?
I don't know. Maybe he's doing it under pressure. Who knows? But yeah, that was interesting. Why did he not open DRS there?
I'm assuming he's just not trying to not risk overtaking him at this point, because even the best drivers, you know, they might come out overtaking each other. It's
I feel like if he would have opened DRS though, he would have flown past him on the run down towards Becom.
The other thing to notice here is Casu's catching up. I think he's gained about a second on the two leaders right now. So.
Yeah, just under 3 seconds now. Vapor Trench is really struggling to get within a second of Casu. He's tantalisingly close. Oh,
he gets a penalty.
So just as I say that, this driver's picking up penalties everywhere now.
Morgan's going to be happy about that one. He's a second and a half behind.
Yeah.
Currently set to gain that position.
So that will be a costly Vapor Trench of this Grand Prix. Bazooka half a second behind Harrison, who just got past Harrison 11. So having got that drive, Harrison here is looking at a point finish, and Benjamin has a look at the inside, but it's better off just the last second. He's so isn't he? Benjamin here than Bazooka Joe, and he's threatening an overtake. Still in for the Alfa Romeo drive for the time being.
Man, JT just keeps getting so close every time through this first sector. And I think he's just backing off a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if he will decide to go for it between now and the end. He just doesn't want to be under that pressure in the Grand Prix.
He's got such a good run again up the source up through Rouge.
Let's have a look. So he's very close this time. Does he open DRS?
He doesn't. I think he's trying to stay behind him.
Yeah, I think he is. Very interesting from JT. I don't know why he's doing that. But yeah, still staying behind Canute. I think he... Well, maybe you're right. Maybe he just knows he's got the race in the bag if he doesn't make any mistakes. So he's trying to... The thing is, if he stays behind and picks up a penalty, he'll be kicking himself for not going for the overtake.
Vapor Man as well, and you're behind Prentice as they...
Yeah, Jack Prentice just in front of him.
Vapor Man as well is that Prentice will be picking up DRS off Lord of Lamb in front. He's just within that second a lot of time, so...
Impressive debut this from Vapor Matt, up in the points, and looks like he belongs there as well. Kex Vendel also in P9 in the Mercedes, but Benja, after a tough race so far for him, not quite able to performance that we thought he could.
The other thing I'm interested to see is how are these tyres doing now, because they've been on them for nearly 10 laps.
Yeah, no signs of any pit stops just yet.
I don't think anyone will pit now, but they'd lose so many positions.
No, I think it's almost like at this point you've committed to that strategy. As Morgan is within a second now Vapor Trench, so penalty anyway. So I'm sure Morgan would like to, nonetheless, get past him as he opens up the DRS.
Follows him. Getting up on the cars in front now. It's just cost GT.
Yeah, I don't think Casu's catching by enough though, is he? If you look at how much caught in the full of and how many left to go, I think he's quite doing enough to catch up by the end of the Grand Prix. JT very close, and this time surely he's got DRS open. Now he gets past Vapor Canute. Now he takes the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. Down the inside he goes, and we have a change of leadership in the Belgian Grand Prix. JT, who started third, is up into P1, and with just a few laps left to go, JT looks to have made the perfect start to Season 7.
He might have just been biding his time, really. He might have outsmarted both of us here and just waiting for that surefire overtake down the Camel Straight.
Well, he certainly looked as though he had the pace, didn't he?
Vapor Shea going for fastest lap on fresh soft, so he's just at the fastest lap of the race.
That is one of the new rules for Division 1 this season, because the fastest lap point counts even if you don't finish the race. So you can finish anywhere in the Grand Prix, or just even if you've retired, if you had the fastest lap before you retired and that fastest lap remains, you still get a point in the championship.
Gets a time penalty. I believe he already had one as well.
Yeah, Benjamin at the minute not having a great day, has to be said. And he got 5 podiums and 2 wins on his way to second place in the Division 2 Championship last season. Matt won it. 2 wins, 5 podiums. Took Cole as well. Good measure. He's running in the points, as is Kex Vendel. Harrison, well, he's just over 3 seconds behind Elliot, and he has a penalty as well, so it doesn't look as though Harrison's going to be scoring. It's such a shame, Matt, that he had to speed just ever so slightly under the virtual safety car and cost himself any chance of a point finish.
Yeah, just tried to gain that move. Is looking to come back at JT here now down the Camel Straight.
Yeah, he's got a great run, hasn't he? And tell you what, here he's about to retake the lead, but he has that penalty, of course. So whilst he has the lead on track, you just wonder if he'll be able to keep it.
The thing to notice here, Cassie might actually be in with a shout of jumping up to second.
He's within 3 seconds. In fact, no, he's not. No, he's not
just
quite.
Outside.
Yeah, just outside, but he's getting there for sure. And if Vapor and JT keep battling, he will there, of course.
That could be one to keep an eye on. It could be a bit of a Lando Norris round Austria early this season situation, you know.
Really good. Let's see if he can get himself a podium to start off season 7 right. Morgan. Who's got a penalty?
No.
So that's going to cost him a podium, you would think. Excuse me, it's going to cost him second place.
Oh, actually, it could cost him third because Morgan's within 3 seconds of him.
Yeah. Oh, that could be tight at the end. So Cassie has to pull the finger out now and really try and find some pace. His saving grace here is that Morgan's a little bit stuck behind Vapor Trench. He's been within a second for a couple of laps now. Hasn't quite been able to find a way to the Mercedes just yet.
Yes, Morgan could be looking at a potential podium in the first race of the season with that penalty.
Yeah, we'll see. So Lando Norris here, Morgan. If he can get ahead of Trench, he certainly puts himself in the really good shot.
Oh, 2.5 seconds back. You can see maybe the pace stepping up a bit from Cassie now.
43.6 from Canute, the fastest lap. He is now, Vapor Canute, just over a second ahead of JT. Can he pull this off? Has he got pace to extend the gap to 3 seconds? I wouldn't have thought he did, but you just never know if JT could make a mistake himself. He's the only one in the top 3.
Morgan's going to look for a move here as well.
Yeah.
Camel Straight.
Morgan's got a great chance, hasn't he, here?
Oh,
very, very close indeed to contact. They do so well to avoid each other. Morgan gets ahead, down the straight into P4, and as it stands at into P3 with Casu's penalty.
Yeah, Cass got more pace. He might be able to keep that podium position. There's going to be an extend here.
Certainly will. Morgan doing enough. Can Casu pull that bit of pace out that he needs to extend the advantage and keep hold of his podium finish? Jack Prentice right behind Lord Alam. So Alam, who had gotten ahead and was actually extending the advantage, has now been sort of reeled in a little bit by Jack Prentice and also by Vapor Matt. All of these have penalties. But of course, it remains to be seen how many penalties. Oh, Vapor Matt gets another penalty. There you go. So just as I mentioned, penalties. Vapor Matt goes off the track and gets himself another one. Elian still holding P10, Harrison behind him, Bazooka Joe in P12. Joe's within distance of Harrison to take P11, but will not be in the points as it stands. Still 1.5 seconds between Vapor Canute and JT, so JT right now doing just enough for the race win. And having shown so much more pace, Matt, it's actually quite surprising to see him drop off. You think he's just dropping off now just to conserve himself and make sure that he's got the win in the bag? Yeah,
I think he's just playing it safely, so he might as well just sit there, really.
It's like Benetton, Red Bull, Alfa Romeo, one Van Wall, one here, once upon a time, Eagle, some pretty interesting names, BRM, and of course, Jordan's famous win in '96. So I think he's going here. Yes, he is. Fastest lap. So he's going to try and smash fastest lap out of the park.
And it's kind of looking like we'll have another Alpha back on the top step today as well.
Yeah, certainly does. And, Williams will finish the race first on, but the timing screens will show something quite different with JT emulating Juan Manuel Fangio in 1950 and looking to put that car
actually 2 seconds back.
Yeah, red and white cards. Tell you what, JT here has got to be careful, but he is just creeping back within 2 seconds of Canute. I think. I think he lost the back end, but that might have been a glitch.
Look at this, 2.1 seconds now. This could be a bit close on this last lap.
Yeah, and it's also 2.1 between Casu and Morgan. Race for the podium finish, so Morgan's definitely got that. Well, I think he's got that podium in the bag, but you never know. He's been closing by quite a lot. Just recently, Vapor Trench is still a second behind him, but he has penalties, so Trent's set to finish in 5th place. Here, Jack Prentice still just over half a second behind Lorna Lamb.
If JT doesn't win this race now, he's going to be absolutely kicking himself for this as well.
Certainly will. But he's at the minute on the final lap doing enough. 2 seconds behind, has a second left to spare. Just has to make sure he doesn't pick up any penalties. If he gets a penalty on this last lap, he'll be fuming. He'll be absolutely fuming at that. So needs to just try and make sure he doesn't make any mistakes as he gets back within 2 seconds just momentarily.
Morgan now only 1.6 behind Cassie, so looking like he'll be able to keep that as well.
Yeah, Cassie's penalties have cost him a podium by the looks of it. That's a shame for him, but Morgan, as a reserve driver, has come into round number 1 and instantly got a podium as Kex Vendel gets another penalty. So it looks as though that's going to cost him P9. That might cost him a points finish, you know, because Bazooka Joe doesn't have penalties behind him, does he? So
yes,
that'll be close as well.
It's only been a race decided by penalties, I think, this one. It's
yeah, well, it's not how we like to see a race decided, but it is a dramatic end to the race. And just quickly before Canute crosses the line, driver of the day.
I think for me it's probably Morgan, actually. He's impressed me quite a lot today. He was quite down the grid after qualifying. So to make up those positions and looking like he's getting a podium, I've been very impressed with him today, actually.
If any of you in the comments, just in these final few corners, have a shout for the other day, give us a shout in the comments. We'll have a look at those and take them into account. And make sure to check out the Twitter poll at FPSL_2020 for the driver of the day vote later on. Here comes Vapor Canute. It's 2.6. Oh, that's very close. Here comes Vapor Canute up to the line, wins the Belgian Grand Prix. But JT, as he finishes within 3 seconds, takes the victory in round number 1. Cassio in third, but Morgan will take that right off him. And he gets a podium finish. Vapor Trench in P5. Lorna Lamb will take 6, or will he? Because Jack Prentice right behind him.
He'll
just have enough for Lorna Lamb, but how will penalties decide this? Lorna Lamb in P6, Jack Prentice P7, Vapor Matt in P8. Kex Vendel finishes 9th, but he's behind Vapor. Excuse me, he's behind. Is he behind Elliot now?
Yes.
Yes, he is. And what about Bazooka Joe?
No.
So Kex steals. Well, doesn't steal, but he holds on to a points finish. Benjamin, pissed up at the end, did nothing for him.
Vapor King as well, by the looks of it, going for a fastest lap on the fresh softs.
Yes, Vapor Shea rounds the final corner, but it is that man, JT, who here in Belgium has taken, well, a victory that he would have preferred to take on track, and he did have the lead on track for a short while before Vapor Canute got back here, but ultimately it was Canute's penalties that cost him the win and gave the victory to JT. A perfect start to season 7 for him. Can this be the start of the road to a second World Championship in the Formula PlayStation League for JT?
Actually, Lorna Lamb won driver of the day on the game. Very impressive.
Well, the game has some weird suggestions sometimes, has to be said. Lorna Lamb, though, yeah, pretty good race. Points finish for him, which was an improvement on last season in Monza in round 1 of season 6. He, well, in fairness to him, fought very hard in that race, but ultimately it was pretty futile. But now here he has taken a points finish just in front of Jack Prentice to hold on to that and take a very well earned 6th place.
Very good race, a lot of back and forth in it. So.
Yeah, really good Grand Prix, which we've come to expect from Belgium, as Daniel Ricciardo's proven a couple of times with in his Red Bull days, as has Sebastian Vettel, of course, with Ferrari.
He's going to be kicking himself over that penalty.
Yeah, he certainly will, because he had the win in the bag. He was leading so well off the start, but that penalty's costing the win. JT then with the victory for Alfa Romeo. Vapor Canute in P2, Morgan in 3rd for Haas. Really good reserve appearance for him. Cassio in P4 lost a podium through his penalties in the end. Vapor Trench P5, Lorna Lamb in 6th, Jack Prentice in P7. Vapor Matt in 8th, Elliot in P9. It's Kex Vendel who rounds up the points for Mercedes. Bazooka Joe in P11, Benja P12, Harrison in 13th, Vapor Shea in P14, Vapor King 15th, James in 16th, TDB in 17th, and Ralkio, Jizzy, and Carwin Robb all out of the Belgian Grand Prix. But that is it from us for the time being. It's been a good start to Season 7 in Division 1, and hopefully next week we'll see more of the same drama. It's JT who starts the season on top. Good night.